Are you ready for what's coming in 2025 when it comes to AI in marketing? I can tell you, I made predictions last year about what was going to happen, and I was way off. This technology is developing at a pace that's hard to fathom. Last year, AI video and AI music weren't even on the radar. Now they're here, and we can produce quality albums and publish them onto Spotify and Apple. Like, who would have thought about that as a possibility at this time last year? Yet, in this episode, I want to talk about all the predictions that I got wrong, some I got right, and the predictions for this next year. So stay tuned so that you can be prepared for what's to come and take your career into the future. Welcome back to the Bot Bro series in the AI Driven Marketer. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm here with my bro, Travis Sanchez. In this series, we turn the AI hype into help for marketers. Today is the first episode back. We've almost gone a whole 30 days without making an episode on this show because, you know what, sometimes you just got to take a break. It went hard for a year, okay? 65 episodes and 25,000 downloads. So something's working. People are listening, and it's fun to be back. And it's always fun to start a new episode in the beginning of the year because, you know, it's that time of year. And if you didn't do it in December, then you definitely have to do it in January.
True.
And that is focusing on predictions for the next year. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen. But first, before we get into predictions for the next year on what's going on in AI marketing, got to cover the predictions from last year, which I did solo. So I'm going to review some of my own, and then
Nice.
and we'll see how well I did. But that was back when nobody was listening. But I'm going to bring it back for your entertainment purposes here. We'll see how well I did. I made a number of predictions, made a little short episode about it. And I made prediction one. I figured that some big companies were going to make some big bets on AI, buy a big software package, invest a lot, and that some of them were going to like fall hard. And then that there was going to be people in the crowd being like, see, AI marketing doesn't work. Because, you know, they overcommit. And then I'm like, because it was a safe bet. Because like, how often have we seen big companies do something big and it doesn't work? But, you know, I have not heard a single story happen. So I'm going to call this prediction failed because I haven't seen a big case study where somebody went all in and it didn't work out for them. There were some companies that did some, you can't call it all in, but like, you know, some companies invested in ChatGPT licenses across the board.
Right.
And for the most part, everybody's liking that. I'm sure there's some people that bought Copilot for everybody, you know, Microsoft Copilot, and they don't leverage it at all, but it's not that big of a hit. It didn't really hurt. So I think that's probably what's happening more. You know who did fail, though? It ended up being the AI companies. All the hype. Every tech company went all in on AI, and not all of them made it. In fact, you know, like some of the wearable companies, man, failed hard, right? And that doesn't really matter so much for business and marketing, but like they're just like the wearables, like the Rabbit and the whatever the heck the other ones were. You can't even remember. There was a number of AI consumer companies that just went under immediately because they produced bad stuff. But the same thing happened in the marketing and tool world because they were like, oh, this is AI tool, but everybody did it. And therefore nobody bought because it was just flooded with everybody was doing the same thing. So that prediction failed. Prediction number two was that small companies ended up automating their whole business with AI, or some small companies did. I'm going to say kind of, but not really. Like small companies are definitely crushing with AI, but I haven't heard of any case studies of any small businesses like doing like having a standout year because of AI.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
It's more of like, hey, yeah, they got a lot more productive, and you know, smaller teams did better work. But I thought we'd see that this year. No, maybe next year. Prediction 3 is AI companies will build deeper integrations that are actually useful because in the year 2023, they were all like just the lame-o AI tools, which is like summarize, make it sound friendly. Like everybody did that and nobody was like really using that. Maybe a little bit, but it was just not that helpful. And of course, that was a safe bet. That one actually did happen because HubSpot, Android, Apple kind of, maybe not yet. Maybe that's more for next year for Apple. But like a bunch of big tech companies started rolling out AI features that were really actually helpful, and you could build more into your workflows.
Right.
Prediction 4 is people will start getting confused about what's AI and what's human. I'm like,
not
I
yet.
feel like every time I see something AI, most of the comments underneath it are like, this is AI, this is AI, this is AI, whether it was an image or a comment.
Yep.
So I feel like most people know it's AI this last year. So I'm going to call this prediction wrong. Unless, do you see a lot of people falling for AI content?
So it was something that I was going to bring up, and especially in the marketing world, is what age demographic is actually falling for AI more? Because I've heard from a friend of mine that when his kids who are older, 16, 18, 20, 22, when they get an email from school or from some marketing company, they're like, AI, it was written by AI. And I'm like, really? They can spot the written emails. He's like, absolutely. But then there are some people, depending on what age you are, you fall for it much heavier, whether it's written or video and photos. So yes, I've seen it depends on what demographic you are in and from what generation you are. If you're the old,
Are
it
you
seems
saying
the
like the
older you
older
are, I'm saying the
demos
older
are
you
getting fooled
are,
by AI more often?
I'm saying the older you are, the more likely you are to be fooled by AI. This is all from my own personal survey, looking on Facebook and Instagram posts of like who is commenting, wow, I've never seen giraffes scale a cliff that large. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's missing two legs. Clearly, that's not a real giraffe. It's just.
Well, of all the marketers that I interact with on LinkedIn, and I interact a lot with like marketers and tech companies, so they're on a little bit more on the leading edge. Like we're all aware of when someone comments and it's AI. And I had a guy comment on my post recently. He's like, "Oh yeah, and I didn't write this. This was AI." And I was like, "AI never says that." I'm like, "I know it's you, bro." But
Wow.
because right now it's just obvious because they just don't write in a way that's natural, and it's usually some generic fluff statement that just
Right.
you're like, what? Okay, you showing up every time writing a generic fluff piece, AI. Oh, and there's always there's too many emojis and they're the wrong emojis.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like AI, ChatGPT in particular is like wrong emojis, way too many. So I'm gonna call this one mostly, at least in the marketing community, I'm going to say it's prediction didn't come true. That might change this year. We'll see. And I predicted that we would have, I knew at the end of last year, I was like, there's probably going to be some new AI things, a couple actually, that I think are just, no one predicted that it was going to be here. And it's going to be a normal thing, a couple of them. And I'm going to call this one right because I don't think anybody really predicted that AI video was going to be where it was at towards the end of the year, to the
No.
point where I'm now using Runway ML like somewhat regularly, like every other week maybe now, or Sora or something like it, and AI music. Like I didn't even think about it last year; wasn't even on the radar, and then bam, like Suno's out there, and then the other one, whatever it's called, can't even remember now. I used to use it, but there's AI music stuff out there, and it's like if you would have told me at the end of last year, like, hey Dan, you're going to be paying for a monthly software that produces AI music for your marketing materials, and you're going to put out a whole album that you actually like listening to, and it's going to be on Apple and Spotify. I would have been like, whoa,
Wow.
what the heck? Yeah. So I'm going to call that prediction a win. But that's enough of last year. Let's talk about what's going to happen this year. I got 3 predictions. You got any predictions? You want to go first?
I would say, I think the first thing that's going to be huge is like personalized experiences. You know how we've done so much experience, we've done so much questioning of ChatGPT of our own persona. It's like, hey, if I had core values, what would they be? What are the things I'm focusing on right now? What are the difficulties and weaknesses you see in my life? I think companies and marketers will be able to utilize ChatGPT, or not even ChatGPT, just AI in general, to really hone in on their customers or their leads and know so much information about them where it's going to give you a leg up versus you just taking personalized notes. Has a dog, here's their birthday, here's their anniversary, here's their last purchase, here's what they've purchased, here's the price point, here's how much they make, all that stuff. I think AI is going to be a super um, I don't know, helpful like type A person on the team when it comes to that customization for leads or for customers.
Man, I hope you're right, but I don't think marketers are ready for it.
No,
No, I
it
don't.
feels
I don't
too
think this is the
invasive. It
year.
feels too.
I think it's too. I think it's too advanced for most marketers. And
Mm.
I like a bunch of people are listening to this, and like I hope the one who's nodding either mad at me for saying that or is nodding their head, being like, yeah, like like be the person that makes the customized experiences, because I think we all want it. I think we all need it. I think it'll make our marketing way better. If you want an example, I did one thing this year that I think is a good representation of what hyper personalized experiences can be. Go to take my AI course at aidrivenmarketer.com/course. Anybody can do this. I'm essentially just taking the transcript. There's 5 videos and 5 emails. But I essentially just take the transcript of the video and kind of engineer it, is overstatement, but I just essentially prompted in the marketing automation system that goes to ChatGPT and be like, hey, here's the transcript for the course and 3 pieces of information about the student. Customize this lesson based on what you know about this student now. It sends it back. It injects that 1-to-1 piece of content into their email with the course video. That's hyper personalized. Anybody can do it. It's not super fancy. Right. Yeah, it takes some work to build it, but dang, it hits harder than a normal course.
100%.
Because it's customized for them. And I think a lot of people could be doing that. I was about to do it for a client that I had who was in the health and wellness space. I ended up having to pass that project on, but we were going to go back through their course catalog and just start building personalized experiences via email. Really simple. Just get it customized, fill out this form, and go through the personalized journey on this. I wasn't even going to use the word AI because for their demo, AI was going to be a negative.
Right.
You know, AI was going to be like, oh, I don't trust it. And I'm like, and I told them, I was like, don't even call it AI. Just call it a personalized journey. That's all it is. And they will love it. They will love it. You don't have to tell them it's AI under the hood. Just deliver the content personalized for them. And everybody loves personalization. That's why we buy monogrammed stuff.
It's true. That's really smart. It's really smart.
But I hope I'm wrong. I think because I think it's a really good thing. I think because content marketing is such a big part of marketing, if you could start enhancing it with hyper personalization, I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Wow.
One of my predictions. This is the prediction that everybody's making, but I think everybody's right. So it's worth predicting. I'm also predicting this later than almost everybody else on their predictions. So I've heard everybody else's predictions, but I'm like, this is a thing this year is AI agents. So I got to get that one out of the way because that one's like, obviously, like everyone's already talking about it. But I think here's a nuanced answer to like this prediction. I don't think we're going to walk away from 2025 and be like, whoa, like, yeah, agents can handle so much freaking stuff.
Right.
I can't believe I can't find enough for them to do. They're so productive. No,
right.
It's going to mostly just be intelligent automation. You're going to have to craft what they're doing and really engineer these things in order to work. They'll get better, but I think the lines will start blurring between intelligent automation and what I think of as agents. Because when I think of agents, I don't think of delegating to an entry-level person. I think of delegating to like a pretty good manager or a director, right? That's kind of what I have in my mind with agents. What about you? I think because a director level person, you could hand an ambiguous goal and be like, make it happen. I don't care about the details. Here's the parameters. Go make it a thing. And then a director will go off and autonomously go and get it done. But that's hard.
Well, directors are directors because they have the experience to fill in the blanks if need be, and to set assignments and not be told what those assignments need to be, where I don't think AI agents are at that point. And honestly, if AI agents get to the point where they have that fluidity to start making those kind of decisions, to have the experience to know what will be suitable but not too risky or it's risky enough, that starts getting into scary control territory where I think people will be terrified of how much AI is processing and is completing. So I don't think 2025 will be the year. Maybe 2028,
2026. It just takes the heart. There's 3 things that are slowing that down. One, it just costs a lot. All the building blocks are there to do it now because of these new reasoning models. Like we have the capability, but like the O3 model, the big reasoning model from ChatGPT came out, and its ability to like reasons through the roof. Like it's doing math that only like Fields medalists can do in 2 days. You're like, dang, it's beyond my comprehension what it can compute now. But it costs like $1,000 or more to run it. So I'm like, yeah, obviously, cost of compute has to come down to make it a thing. And then it has to be like developers have to go and bake it into their products to make it useful with access to the right things, but also not too much access so they don't go off the rails and causes liabilities for people like for companies like Google. So it's going to be like this. We're building it out. We're slowly increasing the scope. By the time we get to the end of the year, the scope will have increased enough to where we can say, like, okay, this is really cool now because I can assign it a blog post and it's smart enough to go and do the research, write the post, fact check it, embed some media into it, and then get the draft ready in WordPress for me. Ooh, that's cool. I'm like, you could almost engineer that to do it now, but not very well. Now, you would have to engineer the crap out of it to do that now, but it would be okay.
Yeah.
But agents, they'll be able to do that kind of a workflow much better next year.
Wow.
So that's one of my predictions. We'll kind of see the beginnings to agents by the end of the year. We don't have them now. Everything they call agents now isn't an agent, in my opinion.
I would say a prediction for 2025 is I think 2025 will still be a lull for the masses. People more and more will start using AI as a Google tool to Google information and potentially continue to change text messages. I think that group of people is just going to increase huge in 2025, which will then create more conversation, more hype, and more reason for tech companies to continue to drive ahead. But I don't think people are going to be utilizing, even if they do come out with agents. I mean, 0.0001% of people will be utilizing agents. Someone like you, Dan, would do it just because you love to tinker and get into the depths of what it's capable of doing. But even someone like me, I love more of the simple, what's the fastest way that I can utilize AI to help me right now, not plan out, future plan, figure it out, build it out. So that's a huge prediction for me, is that you're just going to have a huge increase of people using it as Google. The tinkerers will continue to build and utilize it in a massive way. So people should really keep their ear to the ground to see what's capable now. But we're in we're still in the early stages of AI.
So freaking early.
Crazy. People don't even understand how early we are.
Have you've heard of the crossing the chasm metaphor with like the adoption bell curve?
Yeah,
I think it's what it's called.
Early adopters and then
late adopters, laggards, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think for marketers particularly, because this generative AI has been like one of the most useful tools for marketers. Hence, marketers have been like one of the earliest to adopt this tool because it's so useful because we're coming up with content and trying to do it cheaply for good ROI, right? Like, so I think it actually crosses the chasm for the group of marketers in general, not even just tech marketers, but marketers in 2025. By the end of the year, it hops the chasm, but hasn't gone to the top of the bell curve. It's like at the beginning of the early majority by the end of next year for marketers, as in like more than 50% of marketers are using, I'm going to define it as using like an AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT or just AI regularly in their CRM on a daily basis in a meaningful way. That's how I'm defining like adoption, but it's almost impossible to measure it. I guess, I don't know. I'll have to get Social Media Examiner to do a survey. We'll probably do a survey again and then we'll find out. But it's still super early and marketers are on the leading edge. But I think you're right. Most of the general consumers of the world won't be using AI. They will probably, like, they'll be using it in Siri. It's going to be baked into Siri now more. Yep. But other than that, not so much.
Here's my final prediction. And I pride myself on seeing video content and knowing if it's grade A, grade B, grade C, and so on. I have been waiting for AI to get to the point where I can upload some videos, give it a little bit of a description, and it create an edited video, whether it's a short video, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, that I'm like, that is what I'm talking about. That has yet to happen. And I'm hoping by the end of 2025, we will be closer to the B grade edit. We're kind of like C plus if you get it just right. But the AI edits for your videos, and I'm not even talking about generative AI creation. I'm just talking about pre-existing editing. It puts some music, some cuts, grabs the interesting part of the clips. We're not there yet. And I'm so pumped for that moment when the editing can be decent. Maybe not for long form, because that takes a real producer. And that's where the reasoning of AI will do a really good job when they start understanding the emotional parts, the emotional entertainment of long form videos. But I think in short term, trailers, promotional.
That's a good
clip.
prediction. I think you're right. I think it's right on the edge
It's
because
right
like
there.
it's all right there. Because right now the way it edits just kind of cuts out ahs and obvious filler words and stuff,
It
but it
doesn't
looks
quite
too
tell a
jump cutty. It
story.
doesn't really
Yeah,
edit for content at
correct.
all. And I'm like, but the tech is there. It can. Even
Yeah.
4.0 can. Like, but
Yeah.
they haven't applied it yet.
Correct.
Yeah, I wonder, CapCut might do it. I feel like CapCut's really leading the way in AI video.
Right.
I did you know how in Adobe, and I tried this in a Premiere recently. You can slow down footage artificially, right? You shoot it in 24 frames a second, and you want to make it, I don't know, 60 frames a second or something. Slow it down. I did it in Premiere and it was choppy, even at just double. I did it in CapCut and it was smooth, but it
Wow.
let me go farther. I did it to 240 frames a second.
Wow.
And it was freaking smooth as butter. I was like, what
Wow.
the heck? If like that means it had to inject like four clips within every reel frame. There had to be 4 individual frames to make that transition. And it was smooth, which is, they had to have used AI to create all the in-between clips because it looked really good. I don't know
I
how they
think
made it that smooth.
I think the only way that something like CapCut or another, even Adobe, they're going to be able to do this is if they create something for video, but for like Notebook LM, where you can put information in or videos, but it only grabs necessarily the information, but they do it for video editing. Hey, don't worry about the content of what's in this video, but I want you to edit my video, like upload 10 Mr. Beast videos and say, I want my video edited just like this. Or do a collab with 2 people and say, hey, I want a mixture of Mr. Beast and Casey Neistat, and I want my video to kind of look like both of these. And then it can process and go, yeah, let me provide you an edit that looks like this. That's what we need.
Yeah. And then you have the ability to go back and tweak it.
Uh-huh.
That'd be next level. But I think you're right. I think by the end of next year, we could see a tool that does auto edits and it's actually like thinking about it in a way that's smart. Will it be like really, will they be bangers by the end? I don't know about that, but it'll start getting there. I think it's safe to say it'll start getting there. We'll see if they're making bangers. But at the same time, like Google Notebook LM put out the podcast feature.
So cool.
And I'd say those are so freaking good that I'm like, it left me speechless the first time I heard a Google Notebook LM podcast.
Yeah.
Because the timing was so good and they're consistently good. Like I've heard some where it messes up, it injects some wrong information or it just stutters weird or something, but it's pretty rare. Like it's usually pretty spot on. So could be, you never know. My last prediction is that we're finally going to see ChatGPT 5. I'm calling it. I'm like, this is the year we finally get ChatGPT 5. Could be this month. We don't know.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I think there's something holding them back from getting it. No one's released this model yet because I think there's something wrong with it, or it's hard, or maybe it just goes off the rails and they can't get it, or maybe it's just harder to, they're like not getting quite the quality they're hoping from it. I don't know. There's lots of speculation around this, but when it comes, it'll be the next big breakthrough and will power everything we do. But right now, I'm pretty dang freaking happy with 4.0. 4.0 is like remarkably better than it was a year ago. Even if they just keep making little improvements to that, I'm going to be happy as a clam because honestly, there isn't much that 4.0 can't do.
Right.
I don't really get frustrated with 4.0 often of like, it doesn't get it.
Right.
It gets it most of the time. So I'm like, okay. But that's a prediction. ChatGPT 5.
I like it.
Moving on to the poll results. I do a poll. Sometimes I do multiple polls because sometimes that's the only way to get reach on LinkedIn right now. Engagement bait. But I asked people, how often do you use AI for work? The results are in, and we had 181 votes, and we are at daily use, 74%.
Wow.
It's pretty good. But of course, again, I'm in the marketing tech community, so I think it's in this particular community, it's definitely crossed the chasm. People are using it pretty regularly now.
Right.
19% weekly, 1% monthly, 6% less than monthly or none. So it's kind of interesting. So you either figure it out and are using it regularly,
right,
or you just haven't used it yet. Which is interesting for the 1%, this bottom 7%. I'm like, I wonder what's keeping them from doing it. I should go back to the poll and just start DMing all the people who voted 1%, the monthly or less than monthly or none, and be like, I bet about a bunch of these people are like have a contention with AI. I'm getting a lot of people in the comments showing up being like, just essentially arguing with me about AI and it's how good it is or how ethical it is or that we're losing humanity on it. I get hecklers pretty regularly on my AI post now, and it's usually the same 3, 4, or 5 people.
So you saying that, I have some friends that are blue collar workers and they do not like AI. They don't like the thought of it. They don't, probably because they don't understand it and they're not creating, their systems are just more physical. So obviously they use technology to advance their businesses, to advance their own personal life, but they're not utilizing it. And I don't know if they're afraid or if they just, I think it's a matter of not understanding, and what you don't understand, you tend to push away. So I'm curious, with the group and demographic that you have on that poll, like how many people you have such a high percentage of 74%ers. I don't think you have a lot of blue collar workers following you who aren't into marketing or trying to get their own leads or running their own business. So it would be fun to do a poll like that
We
for
should do a poll about why don't you use AI?
a larger demographic,
I
that
wish,
you're following, and see what
Well,
is.
let's do a poll for the next episode, and I'll post it on LinkedIn, but we'll also do one on your Facebook page and my Facebook page to kind of capture a different demo where there's not a lot of marketers. I don't know. Can Facebook do polls?
Great question.
I assume so.
ChatGPT.
Ask chat.
Oh, that's great now.
You should have asked it on audio.
Yes, Facebook allows you to create polls, though the specific features and options can vary depending on the platform. But I just asked you
what? We specified the platform.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, ChatGPT ran it aground this time.
It says go to the group where you want to post a poll.
I want to do it in a group.
Stories, Facebook pages. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Whether through stories
We'll find out next week. We'll revisit this question of why don't people use AI? And I'll specifically word this question in such a way like, why don't you or people who are anti-AI not use it? Like, what's the most common reasons you're getting? And then I'll try to give the most common ones.
That's good.
So we'll see. And wrapping up this podcast, I usually try to find what's a viral post on AI, and let's break it down. So I'll find a viral post on AI that I think is interesting from Johnny Miller, and he posted, my fave ChatGPT prompt so far is this. He said, based on all of our interactions, so it's one of these prompts, based on all of our interactions, what is the question that I should be asking, but am not? Have you tried this prompt?
No, unfortunately, I lost all of my data on my.
That's right. You got kicked out of your account.
I used my work email, which was a mistake, and I could not recover it. So I am starting over from scratch today. My subscription got canceled on January 10th, and I'm starting over today. Luckily, I had access for a minute, and I saved all of the memories of what it has in a long PDF. So I'm just going to upload that and say, hey, put this all in your memory. So hopefully I can regain some of the knowledge base.
That's good. Because, man, it takes a while to build that up. I'll just go back to the super prompt that I talked about a few months ago, right?
Yep.
Like, hey, based on all of our interactions or all the things you've learned about me, if anything, ask me questions to get to know me, to help me with my long-term goals, not short-term things, but I crafted it specifically. So I'll have to link back to that episode in the show notes. But I did craft this super prompt to help ChatGPT get to know not just what you want now, but what you want long-term and who you are and how you process, so that it knows all the things and then can act accordingly. It also is really helpful for it to know all those things. If you're asking it questions like, based on all of our interactions, what's the question? Now, I did run this prompt and it was okay. Usually these questions are actually really insightful because AI will look at all this interactions and memories it has of you and be like, oh, here's what I found.
Are you going to share what the question it said you should be asking?
Yeah. Actually, let me pull it up.
It's going to leave the hangers, just gatekeep the answer.
I've literally been up early, so I already have 7 interactions I've had with ChatGPT just this morning. Where is it? I said, that's a fantastic prompt. Based on our interaction so far, here's what I believe you should be asking. What foundational mindset or habit should I develop now to ensure long-term success of my vision for AI marketing education and consulting? It's actually a great question. So that question was good. And then I was like, that's a great question. Any ideas on what that should be? The question was great. Its answer to this question,
Yeah.
it's like mindset, embrace iterative mastery. I was like, essentially ask yourself daily, what is the one small experiment or refinement I can make today that moves me closer to my vision? And then kind of gave me like a general guide that I was like, at first I was nodding my head saying like, yeah. And then I was like, this is the most general advice ever. And I told
Wow.
it so. And then it gave me back something that was a little bit more specific, like, oh, you should develop more frameworks for helping marketers. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, but that's still not the most specific thing. So it was a really good question, but it didn't have a really good answer. So maybe I just need to throw the question into O1 or something and see if it can do better.
That's a good idea.
But still, try it out. Let me know if you test out this prompt. We'd love to hear from you. You can find me at linkedin.com/in/digital marketing Dan. I love connecting with people from the podcast. Travis, are you on LinkedIn yet?
Yeah, I signed up, but since I was living in Israel and moved back, it's all like out of sync and it's not verifying me. It's complicated. I'm working on it.
Relationship status. It's complicated.
Yeah, literally, it is complicated. They're like, we can't verify you, but goodbye. And it like kicks me off. I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out.
So thanks for joining us for another episode of the AI Driven Marketer. Remember, like I said earlier, there's that free course. You got to go check it out. And I've heard from multiple people that it is, I labeled it like a foundations course. And a lot of people have told me like, hey, I thought I was pretty good at AI. And then I took your course and it took me up a level. So if you're ready, it's probably not a 101 course like I thought. It's actually maybe a 202 or a 303. If you want to level up your AI game in a substantial way, go find it. It's at aidrivenmarketer.com/course.